playing because you know that they have always paraded, you know, a top shot as a number 9. So these are things you should be looking at. There has to be an ideology.
Amazing. In life, I hope that you'll be referenced with a good example. You know, Manchester United was used as a microscope, you know, to see for the wingers, while Chelsea, you know, had to use the number 9, the Eats-men, as, you know, a major example. So in life, you know, just be a good one so that you can be used for proper example and not like Manchester United. Moving away from the NNL, let's take stories, you know, from the
what
NPFL.
do you mean?
This wonderful. let's take stories from the MPFL this wonderful morning. The coach of Kun Khalifat, yes, the newly promoted side is talking. That is Uzor. It was a Kun Khalifat draw at Rangers. Yes, the debut draw against the Rangers. It said at the home, they had their first MPFL home win against Remo Stars. That's going to be the next game. Head coach Obina Uzor says the KK Boys shock a scoreless draw against Rangers International in their MPFL match. They won clash at the Cathedral in Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium right there in Enugu on Sunday. Newly promoted side. Uzor spoke after his team secured a valuable point in their debut MPFL game against the Flying Antelopes. And he said to come here at our famous cathedral to start our MPFL. Season on high, as said the youngest coach in the MPFL. And I think we did not have a bad game. We planned for today's game, and a draw was part of the strategy. But we are looking forward to getting it right better than what we had over the weekend. It was not a bad performance, and it was not a bad result either. I think it was a fair outcome for us, and it was our first game in the Nigerian Premier Football League. Kun Khalifat will now next face defending champions Remo Stars in their first ever MPFL home match of the season. But the 39-year-old coach Uzor insists he said hold up the old horse. He says Rangers in the first match of the season. It has given us confidence, and I must tell you, we are prepared for the clash against Remo Stars, especially as it is our first home game right there at the Cathedral in the MPFL. For you, big boost for them. They got they had a draw in their first game. Now they're facing defending champions who also had a draw, you know, in their first game. Do you think this is going to be a major test for the newbies, the KK Boys, Kun Khalifat?
It's going to be a major test for both teams. You know, Remo Stars, they actually impressed us because we were not expecting that. We were actually expecting Rangers,
yes, on their own turf.
Khalifat was a former player of Remo Stars. He was a defender with the team, so he has a lot to prove. And of course, he was with the team for just recently, so he has a lot to, you know, to chip in for the boys. They are new to the MPFL, but most definitely their performance over the weekend really did not, as we speak, in terms of players all through. And it's because that is when you discover the newest talents, the coolest kids on the block who can actually come on board.
Some can fade away. We
have seen players like that
massive talent
who had, you know, so much talent.
To give,
they started so well and then they faded off. I'll give you instances, especially in the England. You have players like
are you picking for Manchester United now?
I'm not
I guess no. If you can pick for Manchester United, we have racks of young talent, you know, in Manchester United that we can pick 6, 7, 5 out of them. Yes. Can we pick for Manchester United?
Let's leave Manchester United.
Thank you.
I think let me pick Everton, for example. There are players like Jack Rodwell, who was everywhere, coolest kid in the block, you know, was firing on us in that's when he came on board, and unfortunately he faded off. So it's not new that you have players like that. Now, what that tells you as a team is when a kid, you know, just starts firing like that, there's a special management for a player that just arrived to the team, especially the young ones. But then, unfortunately, teams tend to forget that these guys are young. So they blend them straight into the first team, joins the biggest boys in the block, and then they fade away like that. Because one of the things that will affect them is distraction. You cannot put a 16-year-old in the same block with a player like Virgil van Dijk who has seen it all, and then no see that player will not get distracted. One, Virgil van Dijk should be a mentor to such player, nurture him to become a better player. But Virgil van Dijk will forget that this guy is a young guy, and then they go to clubs together, you know, do things together, and that guy forgets that, like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm still trying to be a finished article. But unfortunately, they get carried away. So there has to be a special management for young players. One, they don't get to train week in, week out with these boys. Because if you do, you think you are there, but you are not there. I think there was a time, it used to happen at Arsenal when Arsene Wenger was still in charge. If you are a young player and you have been brought on board to actually play for the senior team, that does not mean there will be an under-21 game you will not be there. You must still honor the call. You must play for the under-21. If you are in the under-19s, you will play for the under-19s. So that means that you are being reminded that you are no longer, you are not yet there, but you are still trying to be a finished article. So this should not get into his head. Getting them the victory yesterday, yes, it is important to get them the maximum 3 points, but we should not lose focus on why he was brought into the team. To be eased into the first 11. Just like some other players in the history of Liverpool, Jamie Carragher, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who rose through the ranks to become what they are today. So if you want him to also reach that level, managing his person, before it becomes, you know, the name by 20 years, they are already nosediving. Their career is already nosediving. When that is the exact time that they should peak. So when that is the exact time that they should peak. So the peak of a football player averagely should be 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Sometimes you get out at 32, depending on your body structure. But unfortunately, you now see players who actually get into the first team early. Unfortunately, you now see players who actually get into the first team early, and then by the time they are 20, outside a popular instance now, I might be really unfortunate that I'm using Manchester United now. They failed to manage the wealth, manage the game time they were given, manage everything that has to do with football, which is
of Turin, Como. Those are the results for Mark. They won right there in the Serie A, and Cesc Fabregas is still doing fantastic right there in the Serie A. Moving away from that, let's take a more update right there. Udinese also losing out, having a draw, a 1-1 draw against Verona from La Liga. Athletic Bilbao snatching that one from the penalty spot. Sunset getting that one against Rayo Vallecano on their own turf. Moving away from that, more stories are still in the Spanish La Liga, where we have our very own Christos Uche, in action for Getafe, and also we had Ejuke and also Akko Adams for Sevilla. The game ended 2-1 in favor of Getafe right there in the La Liga, Spanish La Liga. Moving away from that, right now.
Do I think what he did was wrong?
No. He didn't do anything wrong. So I'm asking, what is next for Victor Boniface at this point in time?
For what is next for him?
Yes, at this point in time.
Well, you should see if he can still, you know, do something. Even with this ACL, I think maybe in the next, you know, but with this injury.
Boniface said when he had the injury, he was still battling with that. He did the surgery, was nursing the injury, lost his mom, entered depression, got back on the field, and, you know, started scoring goals. At least he got better. See, you cannot also blame a team for saying, look, because of this injury, we cannot go ahead.
We can't go,
don't even know if the injury is going to relapse.
That's true.
And when that happens, it means you don't know if the injury is going to relapse.
That's true.
And when that happens, it means he might actually spend another 1 year.
And we're spending money on you actually.
So it's every team has a reason to say, look, for this reason we are not giving you a deal. I mean, Victor Boniface is no pushover. When we talk about, he can always get a transfer to any team. I just feel sorry for him that at this point, AC Milan felt like, oh, they cannot go ahead, you know, with the current crisis, injury crisis is into. But the injuries for now, Victor Boniface, your hands, and so I think people should just let him breathe. One of the reasons he got out of depression was the fact that he was always there on social media, making himself happy, and he has consistently been doing that. While he was doing that, he was scoring goals. I don't think now should be the time to question his presence on social media just because his deal to AC Milan fell through. So I think people should not be judgmental. People should also give other people the reason to breathe. Let them breathe. Leave them alone. I mean, they have a life to live. aside from being a footballer. You cannot blame Marcus Rashford for visiting Ibiza to have his, his way. You cannot blame Garnacho for traveling to one place or the other to enjoy himself. Why Victor Boniface? I think we do too much.
At also 3 to 4 weeks injury for the Arsenal star man, and not a start that he would want for the season for himself. But right now he's out with an injury. We're hoping for the very best for a massive comeback for Bukayo Saka and Arsenal. Moving away from that, now this is a question that you have the chance to win something on the show. Now, if you're watching this, just tell me who am I? I'm not going to ask Samson and Fola because they might just spill out the answer for you. But looking at this player, the question is, who am I?